I don't know, Stugotz, if you have seen lately what has been happening with Tyreek Hill's personal life out in public. But for the uninitiated, before Tyreek Hill got to Miami, before Tyreek Hill really got to professional stardom, he had incidents of physical abuse with his wife and with children. And he came and rehabbed some of that, and time passed. And so when he was on Hard Knocks, what was presented to you with access, in exchange for access, was his marital status now. And they took you inside his home, and he was looking at finances with his wife in the living room. And what was presented to the audience was loving, and I don't know if it was mythologizing, but all of it seemed like something opposite the details that we had learned about Tyreek Hill before. And people are allowed to change, people are allowed to learn, but it was glossed up, it was shiny, it was a love story that was presented on Hard Knocks.
It seemed like a normal relationship that most couples could relate to.
Well,
that's what it seemed
like.
You know?
It was intimate in a couple of ways. It was meant to look intimate because you're granted an access to a star's life inside his home that you don't normally get. And it was also the intimacy of a relationship that allows you to see another side of this human being that when you're seeing him at the facility, it's not what it looks like. But then his house catches fire in an incident in which it was reported that a child was playing with a lighter. And then soon thereafter, 2 months after getting married, there's a petition that files for divorce, that Tyreek Hill has filed for divorce. He denies initially, even though there is paperwork, he denies that there is any trouble whatsoever, that he is getting divorced at all. He is saying that everything is fine, and he doesn't necessarily understand how the paperwork has been filed. And now he's saying that people have been fired, and there is a, quote, bleeping bonehead who filed divorce papers. And I ask you, and I ask the audience, at Le Batard Show is the place that you can vote on the polls. Do you believe that someone files a petition for divorce by accident?
On someone else's behalf?
Do you believe that that's a thing that can happen that has any basis in reality? Once you've gotten to the point of a petition being filed, it may be a mistake, but it's not a mistake of paperwork. You may have gotten emotional and made a mistake. You might have gotten so angry that you did something in a moment that you did not want to do. But paperwork does not get filed by mistake on this sort of thing, I don't think.
It's also, it can't be, right? It can't be someone who's close to them saying, hey, you know what? This doesn't look right. I'm going to file for divorce on their behalf. Like, that's impossible.
I mean, we all have our divorce papers signed, ready to be turned in. Like, right? Don't we all do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's sarcasm. That's ridiculous. He would have had to sign something.
I understand, especially with Tyreek Hill being a public figure and his history prior to coming to Miami certainly has been scrutinized. For this one, if you're able to isolate just the week that married couple probably had, I'm good. Like, largely ignoring it. I think Tyreek has kind of embarrassed himself with the community notes. But I could see how an argument about the status of your marriage can start after your house catches fire. I don't have anything in my life that's happened like that, but I have almost lost my marriage over a sock in a laundry missing. What? So,
oh, we need to hear the story now.
No, it's just
we've heard it before. Yeah. It's the second time he's used that example.
It's just sometimes little things are the start of much bigger things.
Right.
And in this case, the little thing is a multi-million-dollar mansion catching fire. I just see how this can happen.
So you're saying you get cranky about the sock, and then the truth comes out on bigger things, right?
Well, yes. In this instance, it was reported that a child started the fire. I'm just saying there are family dynamics here at play and a pretty large traumatic event that could help explain why someone considered divorce.
I don't think there's any why what happened aspect to it for me. For me, it's like he tried to deny a public filing and pretend like it never happened, which it's a public filing. And this actually happened to Brian Kelly a year ago. And a local Baton Rouge network posted a story that he had filed for divorce against his wife, and then I guess his kids tweeted that it was not true, and they were all at dinner together, and it was a really awkward and weird situation. And then people were like speculating that maybe it was the wrong Brian Kelly, but it wasn't, because he was from Massachusetts, and it had like his address in it, and so fans found his address, and I mean it was like a whole messy thing. And then I guess 4 days later they were like, we're actually not getting divorced anymore. But it was the same thing. It's like, this is public record. Actually, this happened with Tua last year. Remember when he got married and Andy Slater saw the filing and asked him about it, and he was like, I kind of wanted this to be private. And it's like, well, this is public record now. It just, the denial, I think, is what makes this like a newsworthy thing.
I feel bad for the assistant that got fired, because he just did, or she just did what they were asked to do.
What Tyreek asked
take
him
this
to do.
this thing, go file it with the court, and then he does it, and Tyreek's like, "Who did this? You're fired."
Is it weird that when Chris was talking about divorce papers and everyone having them signed, that I believed him, that I thought I was like being left out? Like I didn't know this was a thing.
I think we all were looking at him and understood that he was being sarcastic, but the look on your face made him say out loud, I'm just joking, because you were so baffled. But this is what happens to Stugotz when he does God Bless Football, and then we ride him through 3 hours of the car wash after that. He's so done by this stage of the show on Mondays.
Yeah.
The things that you get jealous of are so weird to me. Like, you're jealous that you don't have signed divorce papers because Chris was joking about
seems
having
like
that. And you like, someone else had that, so you wanted the signed divorce papers also.
I just thought it was a thing that I wasn't doing, and it does seem efficient if indeed one day you want to file for divorce. You already have the papers, they're signed, you're ready to go, you're done. I mean, in and out mission.
You believed him because his mom's a lawyer, right?
I don't know why. I believed him because of what Dan said. I'm tired. I believed him. I did.
Okay, because
it was very convincing.
If his mom wasn't a lawyer, I'd be like, there's no way Chris knows how to draft divorce papers. He doesn't know how to start that process.
Sign, right?
My mom's a
Googling how
lawyer,
to
and I
divorce.
don't know how to do that. I would have to Google it.
This is one of the places
How do I get a divorce?
where I start making some of the mistakes that I make, because I was about to make some sort of reference on where there's smoke, there's fire, that I didn't make because I was just sort of confused by what was happening with Stugotz, where he's looking at you seriously, and you had to walk back the idea that we all have divorce papers already written up somewhere in our home in the case that you got an emergency file
Just
and then
in
get out of town.
I was wondering if Abby had them. I didn't. I started thinking a little bit, you know?
I have them, and I'm not even
thinking is a
married.
bad thing.
You ever wonder if she asked you to sign something? You're like, what is this that I'm signing?
All the time.
I'm so excited to see what's going to become of Chris Cody's Instagram algorithm now that he has searched divorce on his device.